Welcome to Music News Radio, MNR. I am your host, recovering DJ Mark J, and I've got a good show for you this week. I hope it's a great show for you this week. And here with me in the studio, I have Missy J and James Brown, as always. They're very happy, smiley faces, and they are smiling, and they do appear to be happy. We'll see how long they can keep that up. Thanks, guys, for helping me, and thank you for tuning in. And hopefully we'll have just, again, like a great show. Here we like to say there is nothing new under the sun. That's what news stands for. And that is our way of saying that all music is really derivative of music from another time. Music in this day and age borrows from 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s. And that's actually not bad. It's good. There's a lot of great music over the last 4 or 5 decades, and it's one of the reasons why music today is so good, I think. What's that? I know you can't hear this, but I can. Okay, Missy's giving me a hard time already. Really? This is how we're going to start the show? You're going to start... Oh, my. Okay. I did use the word quintessential a number of times in the last show. I did, I admit it. I did not say quintessential 75 times. That did not happen. No, it did not. Maybe I said it 4 or 5 times. Look, that's not important. I watched the show. I know I said quintessential, but I think I maybe said it 4 or 5 times, and I used it in its proper context. So that's what I think that's what's important. It means classic, or the ultimate version of something. Like I was talking about classic 80s rock, quintessential 80s rock. I used it in the proper context. I even looked it up. I mean, I didn't need to look it up. I knew what it meant, but I looked it up anyway. So, just get off my back. Okay. All right. We have, in the past, talked about music news. We're going to do that here, one of the things that we do here. But in the past, we've talked about music news in the context of new albums that are coming out. We mentioned the 1975 Church is the Damned, Hop Along, among many others. But there's so much new music coming out each week, each month, throughout the year, that it's kind of hard to keep up on all of it. And so I've decided this time that we're actually going to talk about music news in a little bit different way. This episode, by the way, we're going to review 2 albums. So last time we reviewed Always 2017 release Antisocial Lights. Thought it was a great album. This week we're going to review 2 albums, Superorganism and their self-titled debut, Superorganism, an album that came out the same week, beginning of March, The Breeders' 5th studio LP, All Nerve. And a little later in the show, we'll tell you what we think about both of those, and we'll play some tracks from both of them. What's that? I keep getting interrupted, sorry. I don't know. You're supposed to tell me. Okay, I don't know. Missy's asking me, who is our sponsor this week? So last week our sponsor was My Pillow. Right, not really, but I mean that's the story, right? So who's our sponsor this week? Oh, really? Okay. I like that. I mean, okay, this week our sponsor is the California Pot Dispensary Company, American Cannabis Company. The ACC? Oh, that's not good. Is that really their name? That's bad. That sounds like a company that's going to actually come after you for selling pot. Not a company that's going to actually sell you pot, but someone that's going to put you in the slammer. So it's a terrible name. Isn't there another company? Let's come up with a better company. There've got to be more than one. Okay, JB's chiming in here. What? Oh, that's better. Yeah, I like that. Okay, much better. Okay, is that a real company? Okay, I like it. Okay, so our sponsor this week is the California Pot Dispensary Company, Pot Valet. The Pot Valet. Do they have a slogan? Oh, they've got really. Oh, that's impressive. So apparently they've got a 4.9 rating on Google reviews, 4.9 out of 5. How many reviews? Are they real? Oh, wow. That's actually impressive. The Pot Ballet, 4.9 on Google reviews. You're just sending it to me. 178 reviews. Wow. Okay, so I'll read these three. Okay. This is the Pot Ballet Google reviews number 1. Very impressed with their service, price, and quality. That sounds like a grocery delivery business. Anyway, they have always delivered great products, and their prices have been fair. They've only been how long has it been legal in California? It hasn't been that long. It sounds like they've been doing it for years. That doesn't sound very good. Oh, I ordered reluctantly, but I was blown away by their high quality services. Blown away, no pun intended. These are real reviews. Okay, well, so what's their slogan? Best prices, fastest deliveries, lab tested. Oh, that's no good. The Pot Valet, and that's their slogan? Oh, that's boring. We got to do something about that. All right, send that to. Okay, here's the Pot Valet. MNR brought to you by the Pot Valet, and their slogan is best prices, fastest deliveries, lab tested. That just does not sound very good. Maybe that's the point. They're trying to sound legit and serious. They could just say, the Pot Valet. Yeah, we're a real business. I think that's about as good. What's that, JB? Killer Weed Baby. Oh, that's good. Okay. It is. It's good. Okay. He's come up with, send that over to me. Best prices, fastest deliveries, killer weed, baby. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's better than what they're using. The highway, your way, the Pot Valley. Oh, yeah. Okay, Missy J. I like it. Okay. The highway, your way, the Pot Ballet. That's good. Okay. Somebody call the Pot Ballet. Tell them we have a new slogan for them. Okay. So this week's MNR is brought to you by California Pot Dispensary Company, the Pot Ballet. The highway, your way, the Pot Ballet. Okay. What's that? Kristen Stewart is dating the band. Who? Kristen Stewart? What about Kristen Stewart? Dating the band. How would I know? I do not know. You're asking me if Kristen Stewart is dating someone in Superorganism. This is our running joke, right? Yeah. So the answer is, isn't she dating everyone in Superorganism? Isn't that the joke? Who isn't Kristen Stewart dating? It's been our running joke here for a long time. Kristen Stewart. Who isn't Kristen Stewart dating? Look, before we get in trouble and start some rumor that just is not true, Kristen Stewart, to my knowledge, is not dating anybody in Superorganism. Or maybe she is. Maybe she's dating the entire Superorganism. I don't know. Okay. So instead of just telling you about a whole bunch of albums that are coming out and bands that are releasing albums in 2018. We thought we'd do something just a little bit different. This week we're going to highlight 3 bands with albums slated for later this year in 2018. But these are releases that we're really looking forward to, and we're going to tell you why. So the first is the alternative supergroup Gorillaz. Now, why are we interested in the Gorillaz 2018 release? And by the way, all 3 of these don't have release dates as of yet. They're to be announced, to be determined, but they're all slated for sometime this year. The Gorillaz typically will release an album like sometimes every 5 to 6 years. And they released a really good album last year in 2017, Humans. And I liked that album an awful lot. And now they're going to release another album in 2018. And this is the first time that I'm aware of that the Gorillaz have released consecutive albums in consecutive years. And so that's interesting. We'll see how if that produces something that's as good as the work that they've done thus far. And then Johnny Marr, lead guitarist of British supergroup alternative rock band The Smiths. Johnny Marr is classic Brit rock. He writes that stuff in his sleep, and it's good. Johnny Marr hasn't put out an album since 2014, so 4 years without a Johnny Marr album. His last album had one of my favorite songs in the last 4 years, Easy Money. Great song. If you haven't heard it, you need to check it out. And so we've had to wait 4 years for a new Johnny Marr album. It's coming out sometime this year. And so we're looking forward to that. Now, this last one is the most interesting, Sky Ferreira. And why is the Sky Ferreira release so interesting? I'm glad you asked. Here's the answer. Sky Ferreira is a really, really talented singer-songwriter. She's not only a talented singer-songwriter, she's been a professional model, she's been a professional actor, and now singer-songwriter. But she signed to a major label at the age of 17. She was signed to Capitol Records at 17 and released a very, very poppy girl pop kind of Britney Spears, Charlie XCX song One in 2010. And then in 2012, kind of in complete opposition to that very poppy first single, released an EP called Ghost, and it was anything but pop. It was pop, but it was alternative pop, kind of an indie folk, indie alternative, electro pop, modern rock. It was excellent and very different from what her first single was. And based on her first single, it seemed like she was going to be slated to be just a straight up girl pop act. And this EP, Ghost, in 2012 was completely different. It was really good. I loved it. It had the song Sad Dream, Ghost, Everything is Embarrassing, Red Lips. Just really, really good music. And very surprising in how good it was. And I think at the time she was 19 or 20 when she released that. And then a year later, so that was 2012, a year later, Sky Ferreira releases her first full-length LP, Nighttime, My Time, and it is even better. It's just outstanding. It got a lot of really good reviews, really across the board. It was critically praised, and for good reason. It was fantastic, and it had songs like 24 Hours, Omenko. I'm not going to tell you what that song's about, but anyway. So 12 tracks, if I'm not mistaken, on that album, and they were all really good. And she was actually writing music that was beyond her years. She was only 21 at the time, and the music was outstanding. So she had a release in 2012, an EP, and it was outstanding. A year later, she releases a full-length LP without repeating anything off of the EP. Brand new music, and she wrote or co-wrote all of it, and it was really, really solid alternative electropop. And that was it. We haven't had anything from Sky Ferreira. I think we had maybe a single, and she did show up on as like a little cameo on the Jesus and Mary chain from last year on one track. But really, since 2013, here's this promising young singer-songwriter that looks like she can just crank out music with ease, and we would expect maybe something every 1 to 2 years, and we've gone 5 years without hearing anything from her. Now she's 25, which is of course still very young, but finally we are getting the news that there's a new Sky Ferreira album coming out. And so I haven't played anything off of Sky Ferreira. At the end of the show, I'm going to play one of the tracks off of one of the albums that I just mentioned. I'm really, really looking forward to it. When it does come out, we'll highlight it, we'll talk about it, we'll review it. But I have high hopes for the new Sky Ferreira album. And if you haven't heard Ghost, the EP Ghost, or Nighttime My Time, her LP from 2013, you need to check them out. They're just great. Okay, we've got a new segment that we're going to be airing. I'm excited about it. So one of the things that we want to do on MNR is that we want to introduce you to new music. And this isn't necessarily going to be new music, but it's going to be hopefully new to you. So we've got this segment that we call Cult of Classics, and we're going to play classic modern rock songs. And in this segment, from 1978 to about 1986, so roughly a 10-year period of classic punk, post-punk, modern rock, alternative songs. And if you haven't heard these songs, well, guess what? You get to hear them today, at least part of them. And they're excellent. They're so good that they really deserve to be dusted off and brought to light of day, and you get to hear them. And I hope you share them with your friends. They're excellent, each one of them. And so let's let you know what we've got lined up here for you. We've got Faith No More, 999, Slow Children, Sparks, and Killing Joke all queued up. So we're going to start with Faith No More. Now, Faith No More is a Bay Area alternative rock rap band. They had an album in 87, which had the song We Care a Lot. If you haven't heard We Care a Lot, it's great. It was really popular on KROQ in LA, and I assume it was popular all over the country. I played We Care a Lot in clubs like crazy. It was a song that, as a club DJ in the mid 80s, was really just a crowd favorite, and it was one of my favorites. But there's a song on their 1987 release that is not very well known at all, and it's every bit as good as We Care a Lot, maybe better. And so, without making you wait anymore, this is Faith No More and Song off of 1987, Introduce Yourself.
Oh, nothing. Just wondering what it is you're doing. Why it is you're doing that, whatever it is you're doing. Oh, yeah? Why? I don't know. Just doesn't seem like something you'd be doing. I mean, you, of all people. You know what I mean? I know, it's been bugging me since the day I was born, I asked my friend Ann about it. He said, Ann, what am I supposed to do? It's been bugging them since the day that I was born. She said, do whatever the hell you want to do. Now is the time where you can do anything. Everything you do, anything is still gonna turn out great. I mean, you got the world at your feet. I never claimed to be different.
faded out here. That is Faith No More and Song from 1987's Introduce Yourself. And that is a really fun and funny song, but it's also a really good song. And I'd love to play it for people because it actually kind of brings a smile to everybody's face. It's kind of this silly, optimistic song about a girl named Anne who just knows how to make people feel good about life. It's really a good song. We're going to move on to a band that I think might be credited for influencing The Cure. I don't know that for sure, but when you hear them, I think maybe you'll agree that this album was released, that this came off of, was released in 1978. It's very Cure-like, and The Cure more or less came out within a year or two after that. But this is 999, British punk rock from 1978, the song Feeling Alright with the Crew. And enjoy it. Okay, and with that killer bass line and very Cure-like sound, we'll end that. I cut it out too early. They've got a Robert Smith shout in there that just, I don't know. I don't know if the Cure took anything from 999, but it sure sounds like it. Anyway, that is a great track. That's actually my favorite track from 999, Feeling Alright with the Crew. We're going to move on now to 1982, another KROQ favorite. And I refer to KROQ a lot because as I was DJing, again, that was the big modern rock station that I more or less listened to for my own inspiration. I heard a lot of bands for the first time on KROQ. And this next band was a KROQ favorite. And so from 1982, we're going to play now the band Slow Children. I don't think they would get away with using that name today. That's kind of interesting, but Slow Children, politically incorrect. Nonetheless, this is their outstanding song, Vanessa Vacillating. And this is, they're really an American new wave band. This song, Vanessa Vacillating, is just great. So enjoy it. Now, Missy is giving me, as usual, grief for whatever it is I happen to be doing while listening to music. But look, I've seen you dance, just so you know. And it's, I'm just saying, I've seen you dance. So be nice to me. So that was Slow Children, Vanessa Vacillating from 1982. And Slow Children is actually still putting out music today. I've listened to it. It's still really good. Sounds very much like that track right there. They are responsible for some early 80s American New Wave that is really good. That's a really good example of that. Now we're going to move on to track number 4. And that is a band that is surprisingly prolific. This band is quite well known, but not very many people know that they released their first album in 1971 and that they have had 24 studio LPs. That is impressive. LA-based another American New Wave band, and their best studio album, in my opinion, is their 1986 Music That You Can Dance To, and that's what we're going to feature. And off of Music That You Can Dance To is this track, Modesty Plays. So Sparks, Modesty Plays. Okay, so there's a little bit of Modesty Plays off of Music That You Can Dance To. And again, that's my favorite Sparks album of their 24 albums. I think one of the reasons why I like it so much is that came out right when in the heyday of when I was DJing in clubs, and their music was so fun to listen to, and so kind of like alternative disco almost. It was really good, and you can hear. In fact, I think they say that one of their big influences is Queen, and they're very theatrical. They've got a really nice song with Jane Wiedlin, Cool Places. They've just they've had some great music over the years. So we're gonna do our last track of Cult of Classics, and this is a classic. It's not actually much like Sparks and Modesty Plays. It's pretty well known, actually. It's not as obscure as some of those others. But this is a band that I just love. It's Killing Joke from their 1985 release, Nighttime. And Nighttime is, in my opinion, their best album. They're almost credited with being one of the first kind of alternative metal bands, even though this album really isn't that kind of an album. And this song is called 80s. Coincidentally, came out in the 80s, but it is great. I used to play this in clubs all the time, and it is one of the heavier modern rock songs from that era, and I've got history with this song, let's just say that. And I'm not going to tell you what that history is, but I'm not going to tell you. No. Look, I go back, way back with this song. 1985, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And that's all you're going to get out of me. So I don't want to... Look, if I tell you the story, I'm going to incriminate myself, and I'm not going to do that. But this song has some real significance to me, and it comes along with a really great story that, guess what, I'm keeping to myself. So anyway, here we go. We've got from 1985, Killing Joke, 80s. Okay, Killing Joke 80s from 1985 and their album Nighttime. And I just loved playing that in clubs. The places would just light up and go crazy. So there you go. Cult of Classics are 5 tracks for this segment. And hopefully you'll check out these songs on your own. You'll stream them, download them, buy them, and share them with your friends. They're just too good not to be part of your music collection. And so we'll be back in another show with 5 more classic tracks that you should know about. Hopefully you enjoyed these as much as I enjoyed playing them. Okay, we're going to move on now to our album reviews. And our first album review, as promised, is the debut and self-titled Superorganism album. Anyway, this is a really interesting album, like really interesting. And especially given the fact that it is their first, a debut. And I like to ask people this question when I talk about Superorganism. What do you get when you take an alternative guitar-based rock band from New Zealand and double them in size, bring in some more New Zealanders, add some Australians, a South Korean, and a lead singer from Japan? What do you get? Of course, Superorganism. Of course, it's obvious. So that is how you describe Superorganism. They have called themselves a music collective, and it's very apropos in this case. That is exactly what they are. So there are 7 touring members to this band, and there's a band within the band. So the first band I referred to, the New Zealand guitar rock band, the Eversons, is the band within the band Superorganism. And I'm not super familiar with the Eversons. I have listened to their music and I do like it, but I will just say that I do hear some of the Eversons' influence in Superorganism. Why not? Because as far as I can tell, the entire Everson band is part of Superorganism. Anyway, Eversons are kind of this quirky, bouncy, very, very good vocal, very poppy alternative rock, and you've got all of that going on with Superorganism. But the best way to describe Superorganism, and I think people might disagree with this, but this is sometimes you can describe a band by having a collision of 2 other bands. And so my description of what Superorganism sounds like is the lo-fi slacker rock of Beck meets the very polished pop dance rock of Cobra Starship. So Beck meets Cobra Starship, Superorganism. Now, you might disagree with that, and that's kind of a weird combination, but that is, it kind of sums up Superorganism in my mind. And so we'll just start to talk about this band. They call themselves a collective because, of course, there are so many members and they're from so many diverse places, a lot of musical influences, and a lot going on in their music. And I think collective is an appropriate term for this band. But and frankly, watching them live, and hopefully I will be able to catch a show. I think they're making another swing through North America. I'll hopefully be able to catch a show because, as far as I can tell, the sound that they have captured on their debut LP is exactly what they sound like live. And a lot of bands can't do that when they've got as much going on as Superorganism does, but these guys actually do it to a T. Anyway, their lead singer, 17-year-old Orono Noguchi, straight out of high school, sounds like she's been singing in a modern alternative rock band for ages. She's really, really just at ease and very a style all her own that's really good and kind of belies her age. And I would describe Orano Noguchi's style as that kind of Beck, slacker, um, underachiever, almost like the opposite of try hard vocals. Now, that said, she's got a very nice, kind of airy, soft, poppy tone. And so just that alone is really interesting. So she's got this very kind of gossamer, very poppy, airy sound to her voice, but then she's delivering it in this kind of Beck slacker style. It's really good. But then you juxtapose Orano's lead vocals with the band's backing vocals, and you get something very special. So this band, every member in the band sings, and not only do they sing very well. And the backing vocals, contrary to Orano's slacker vocals, the backing vocals are very polished, very poppy, and very accomplished. And you mix the two together, they play off of each other, and it's a really, really, really entertaining, and just, it's like ear candy. It's super good. Her lead vocals with these accomplished backing vocals, and it's kind of like magic. It's really good, and it's to their credit that they have kind of come up with this sound with so much going on. Now, add some sampling. In fact, I would say like an overdose of sampling. They've got on their opening track, It's All Good, they sample motivational speaker Anthony Robbins, and they've got samples of, oh gosh, I can't remember, just it sounds like alarm clocks, robots, and I think in one of the songs they've sampled someone snoring. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know if that's what it is, but it sounds like someone snoring. And that sounds gimmicky. That actually sounds like it would ruin a song. But to their credit, they've done all these really busy things in such a way that it's not gimmicky at all. It's just good. And they've taken like Anthony Robbins and the snoring and made them almost like instruments. Anyway, it's just really good, and it's really entertaining at the same time. Now, one other thing that they've done is they've got this electro pop beat through the entire album that is also makes the song the album very poppy and very catchy. And at the same time, they've very wisely, and I think it's because the Eversons as a band were actually very accomplished themselves, and I think they have really good music sensibilities, and so that really comes through here in this music. There's a lot of spacing in this busy music, and as a DJ, a lot of the things that we played in clubs were right at that sweet spot of like 120 beats per minute. Well, this album is a lot slower than that. A lot of the music is like at 60 beats per minute, all the way up to 130 beats per minute. But a lot of the single tracks are like 60 beats per minute, which is quite slow. But because of the space between the beats, it creates kind of a double speed beat, if that makes any sense. And so what would not be a very danceable song is very bouncy and very club friendly, and what would otherwise sound busy because of the way they've used space between beats is not busy at all. It's actually very, very good. So anyway, I'm sitting here getting off into the weeds about their stylistic choices, but it's just exceptional. And so they've got we'll play one of the songs. Everybody Wants to Be Famous. This is a very well-known track off of the album. There are two singles that are, I think, on most everybody's radar: Everybody Wants to Be Famous and Something for Your Mind. But thus far they have released 6 singles off of this. I think there are 10 tracks on this album. Let me check. Yeah, so out of 10 tracks already, they've got 6 singles. That I think speaks very well for how strong this album is. This track I'm going to play for you is Everybody Wants to Be Famous, and it really highlights what I was saying about Orano Noguchi, their lead singer, and her just stylistic choices and her talent is really on display here. You don't get to hear the backup singers in this song, but here's a little bit from Superorganism's debut self-titled album, Everybody Wants to Be Famous.
Feeling like a boss and staring at the stars. It doesn't matter the cost, 'cause everybody wants to be famous. I'm calling the shots, so see you over at Marr. It doesn't matter the cost, seems like everybody wants to be. I think it could be me. The world's too small for me. Mistakes up in your face. My face on every screen. Feeling like a boss and staring at the stars.
Okay, so we'll end it there, and actually I take that back. In this song you do get to hear some of the backing vocals in the chorus, and they're just they really complement that shiny, very polished, very full backing vocals with Orano's kind of slacker delivery is really, they really complement each other. It's really great together. And then even in that track you could hear the sounds of a cash register and some really strange synthesizer. I don't know what it was exactly going on, but just very, very, very competent pop music, and just love it. Now, I mentioned there are 10 tracks on this album, and all 10 tracks are really good, and they're actually all quite different, one track to the next. Some bands on their debut might be lucky to get 3 or 4 good songs, and then out of however many tracks they have, they kind of repeat themselves. That really doesn't happen here. Each track stands on its own. Each track is really notably different than the last. And then probably the most sedate and arguably the if you want to call a track a throwaway track, which doesn't really apply here, but if there's a track that you might call the sleeper track or the disposable track, it's Nye's March. And even that track, as you listen to it over and over again, just gets better with each listen. And the pop sensible chorus, Tokyo oh Tokyo, comes to the surface, and even that track is really melodic and really memorable. And again, it's probably like the most dialed down track on the whole album, and it's actually really good. So this is just an exceptional album, especially as a debut, and especially with as much as they've got going on here. So after all those glowing statements, what is my score for Superorganism's debut release, self-titled release? It is an 8.5. An 8.5. Now the album review I did last week, always same, 8.5. I'm not stuck on 8.5. These are just 2 really good albums that I just happen to review consecutively. But this Superorganism, this debut is really outstanding, and you owe it to yourself to give it multiple listens. It's really good. All right, moving on. This next one is one of my favorite bands, the Breeders, and I've been a Breeders fan since day one. I really have. They came out with their first album in 1990, Pod, and I loved it. They came out with a EP in 92, Safari, loved it. Came out with another full-length LP in 1993, Last Splash, loved it. Anyway, I have been a Breeders fan from day one, so I was really looking forward to this most recent from them. And interesting, they've been a band now for over 25 years, and this is only their 5th studio album. But I was a Breeders fan before I was a Pixies fan. A lot of people were Pixies fans first, and then subsequently a Breeders fan. And when I was a Breeders fan, I did not know at the time that the Breeders, Kim Deal, was even in the Pixies. I knew of the Pixies. I was introduced to the Breeders album Pod when it came out, their first LP, and I was a fan from day one. I loved it. Anyway, it wasn't until I think Trompe le Monde, the Pixies album, years later that I even knew that Kim Deal was in the band. But anyway, that said, I have been looking forward to this album, and here's what I think about it. This is in my estimation, it's a challenging album. It's not what I expected. That isn't to say that I don't like it, because I do. But really, every Breeders album prior to this and their EPs have what I will call a noise pop song, a Breeders noise pop song, like Cannonball, Sad About Us, Huffer, to name a few. And those of you that are Breeders fans know what I'm talking about. Kim Deal has a way of doing pop songs with her very noisy, crunchy guitar, kind of alt-rock treatment of a pop song. And most of their albums, and probably all of them, have a Breeders type noise pop song. All Nerve, in my estimation, doesn't have a Breeders pop song on it. So what does it have? Well, something else that I think the Breeders are well known for is just great alternative rock and kind of this spacey experimental rock. And this album has both of those, especially just really solid alternative rock. And so I say it's a challenging album because it doesn't have the classic Breeders noise pop song on it, like Cannonball, but it has very, very good and very solid Breeders alternative rock songs. And that is to say that it's got great rock hooks, it's got great rock riffs, and it's very memorable. It's just a rock album and not really a pop album, which is just, a choice stylistically. And anyway, one thing that is important about the Breeders, in my experience with being a fan of the Breeders all these years, is that Breeders albums hold up well over time. They tend to get better the more you listen to them. Their songs aren't overly complicated at all, but they're so well crafted that the more you listen to them, the better they get. That's just one thing about the Breeders for me personally that I've noticed, and that is true with All Nerve. So with All Nerve, I think I've listened to it now over 30 times from start to finish. And the first time I heard it, I thought, this is good. Had plenty of songs that I liked on it. But second time, liked it more. Third time, fourth, and so on. It just kept getting better and better to me. And these are really solid rock songs. It's got 11 tracks on it, and they're all just straight up alternative rock songs with classic Kim Deal guitar and vocals, or they're kind of their more experimental, spacey Breeders rock songs, but they're all very good. But again, the album is just missing that Breeders kind of noise pop song that's kind of more accessible. Now, their first single was Wait in the Car, and I'm going to play some of that just to give you a little taste of what it is I'm talking about. This is probably the poppiest song on the album, and you'll hear that it's a great rock song. It's got great hooks, it's got great riffs, but it's really not that classic Breeders noise pop.
Good morning! Wait in the car! I got business!
Okay, I wanted to wait until that line. I love that line. Wait in the car, I've got business. So that is a great track, but that's about as poppy as it gets, which is not very poppy, but it's a great rock song, and that's just indicative of the entire album. I'm going to play now for you what is my favorite track on the album, and I like to call this track the best Pixies song since the last Pixies album in 2016. This kind of highlights for me that Kim Deal probably had a lot more influence on the Pixies sound than we give her credit for. But this is a very Pixies-like song, and this is the song Metagoth. And okay, I wanted to let it end with that little guitar riff there. That sounds so much like a Pixies song that I think Kim Deal needs to get more credit for what is really just clearly a Pixies tinged song, and maybe the sound that the Pixies are known for. But anyway, that is Metagoth, my favorite track off of the album. And then I'm going to play one more song. So there are a lot of really great tracks on this album. Nervous Mary, Wait in the Car, Metagoth, which I just played. They've got a song Walking with a Killer, which is really a strange kind of experimental type rock song, but it is really good. Blues at the Acropolis, the last track on the album, is great. But they cover a 1970s German rock band that is not very well known, the band Amandul, and their song Archangel's Thunderbird. It's a great song. It's a great rock song. It's from 1970, and the Breeders do their own great treatment of it. You're going to hear that right now. So Archangel's Thunderbird, the Breeders covering German rock band Amandul. Okay. We're going to fade it out with that. Now, this is a great example of the fact that this is just a rock album. They do a great cover of a great rock song, Archangel's Thunderbird. And it's true to the source. Sounds very much like Amandul's version from 1970, but it's got a very worthwhile Breeders Kim Deal treatment to it. It's a great song. Anyway, I really like this album. The question is, after all this high praise, what did I rate it? And I think that some of you are going to be disappointed with this rating, but come back 5 years from now, and as I've said, Breeders albums just get better with age, and so maybe it'll be a 10 years from now. But I give the Breeders All Nerve a 7.5, and that is a really good score. So don't give me any grief. That's a good score. 7.5 is a great album. Anything 7 and above is very worthwhile. And I know I gave Superorganism an 8.5, but I have to admit something. If it's not obvious already, I'm kind of a sucker for pop music. I love really, really kind of garage sounding, hard, rough music that really at the core is a pop song. And so that might have had something to do with this. But anyway, I love this album. I think it's great. I've listened to it over and over, and I just think it's really good. In fact, in some ways, even though it doesn't have a Breeders noise pop song, I think it might be my favorite Breeders album, actually. I think that's fair to say. Okay, this last segment that we're going to move on to is a repeat. This is our second time doing this. We are going to do Stupid Lyrics. Lyrics that, guess what, are stupid. And I had an interesting time this week trying to come up with just what song to highlight on stupid lyrics that are stupid. And I'll tell you, it was a struggle. I started with Eminem, Puke. But as stupid as that song is, I kind of wanted to puke each time I read the lyrics. It's that bad. And so I couldn't get myself to do it. And so I thought, okay, let's move on to another terrible song with stupid lyrics. It's not necessarily a terrible song, but the lyrics are stupid. And it's Dr. Dre's, and I'm going to have to bleep this out, but Dr. Dre's, maybe you can read my lips on that one. And that is a misogynist anthem. Now, I've heard people talk about that is all metaphorical for his experience in the rap music business. But the lyrics are just pretty darn stupid. But anyway, after I tried to record the segment with Eminem, Puke, and then with this Dr. Dre song, but both times I wanted to go take a shower after I did it, and I couldn't get myself to complete either one of them. And so I thought, well, let's why don't we try Angel Haze and Working Girls? Now there's a song with some really stupid lyrics, but the same thing happened. It's just I actually felt dirty after. I don't want to subject myself to that. Working Girls. Now I've similar to Dr. Dre, I've heard and read many reviews about just how strong and representative of women power Angel Haze music is, and Working Girls, what a great song it is. But she makes a lot of farm animal references, and talks about pigs and tractors, and then ends it with a line about diarrhea. All three of those songs just made me feel dirty, so I can't do them. So anyway, so what did I end up settling on for this week's segment, you ask? And thank you for asking. And the answer to your question is I ended up with Nickelback. And the song Must Be Nice. Now, let me tell you something about Nickelback. They might be the king of stupid lyrics. I am not a Nickelback hater. I'm really not. In fact, their first album, I liked it, quite frankly. And then their second album had Leader of Men. I actually liked Leader of Men. I thought that was a good song. And then This Is How You Remind Me. I think that kind of foreshadowed the fact that they were going to be, of what they were going to become, more of a metal pop band. I'm not sure how I would describe Nickelback now. But I liked those tracks, and those first three albums I thought were decent. So I'm not just a Nickelback hater. But let me just tell you, 2003 to 2018, 15 years, we've had to endure Nickelback's stupid lyrics. It's been rough. Canada has redeemed themselves many times over, in my mind. Canada has given us such bands as the New Pornographers and Arcade Fire and Always and Mother Mother. These are all Canadian rock bands, and that's just a few of them that are they're outstanding. They're great. And then there's Nickelback. Look, I don't feel bad dissing Nickelback because they've sold a bazillion records, so, there's that. Anyway, what was difficult about going with Nickelback is that there were too many songs to choose from. I'm going to tell you some of the songs that I didn't choose. I think that's just as interesting as the one that I did. Cheeseball version 1.0. Someday. And then Goofy Rockstar. And then Cheeseball version 2.0, Photograph. And then Cheeseball version 3.0, If Today Was Your Last Day. They've just got, and then it just goes on and on. They've got such a plethora of songs with stupid lyrics that, you know, the one that I chose must be really stupid, and it is. So, Must Be Nice has some good guitar work paired with some awful nursery rhyme lyrics. And here it is from the top. One step, two step, electric slide. Redfish, bluefish, blow your mind. Engine, number 9. Mama gonna let you set the moon on fire. Anyway, it doesn't even rhyme very well, Chad. Let me do that over again. One step, two step, electric slide. Redfish, bluefish, blow your mind. Engine, number 9. Mama gonna let you set the moon on fire. Oh, yeah. That's badass. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack wound up with a broken neck. Humpty Dumpty, do your thing. Daddy gonna buy you a diamond ring. Oh, it must be nice to spend each day in paradise. You wonder why you've ever failed. Your life's a GD fairy tale. Your life's a GD fairy tale. And I'm not choosing to curse here, but Chad Kroeger does. And I think he once again thought to himself, Chad, you need to mix your nursery rhyme metaphors with curse words, because that would be really badass. Okay. I'm going to read the second verse because it's also awful. Susie Steamboat, you're so fine. Grant the wish I wish tonight. Tinker Tailor, what you got? Wheels on the bus are falling off. Pretty maids all in a row. Yes, sir, 3 bags full. Silver spoon at supper time. 4 and 20 blackbirds, oh so high. Oh, it must be nice to spend each day in paradise. You wonder why you ever failed. Your life's a GD fairy tale. Your life's a GD fairy tale. Okay, now, if that wasn't bad enough, there's one more verse that I'm not going to read. It's awful. But I thought, you know what? I should write verse number 4. And I think I did a really good job. I think Chad Kroeger would be jealous. So, here you go. Mark J's verse number 4 to Nickelback, Must Be Nice. Buckle up, it's good. 3 little piggies built their homes. Big bad wolf, give a dog a bone. Listen, I'm rhyming and I'm mixing my nursery rhyme metaphors, so bonus points, right? That seems to be Chad's formula. So I think it fits perfectly. Okay. I'm going to do that again. 3 little piggies built their homes. Big bad wolf, give a dog a bone. Mother Hubbard, cupboard bear. Calvin Klein, thong underwear. Those are some pretty bad-ass lyrics, if I do say so myself. Okay. Those lyrics are terrible. All of them, and mine included. Anyway, there you have it. This week's dubious honor, Nickelback, Must Be Nice. And anytime you look that up, writing credit goes to Chad Kroeger. I don't think I would say credit in the same sentence as that song. The last time we did stupid lyrics that are stupid, we highlighted a Tim McGraw song. And it was Live Like You're Dying. Then, to wipe the slate clean from those stupid lyrics, we put up great lyrics from Paul Westerberg, lead singer, songwriter, guitarist of The Replacements. And the song Bastards of Young. Great song, great lyrics. This week, we are not going to wipe the slate clean. We're going to dive deeper into Chad Kroeger garbage. I can't help myself. This is like wisdom, according to Chad Kroeger. and it ain't good. So here we go. So we're gonna end our show today with more stupid lyrics from Nickelback, and this is from the song "Trying Not to Love You." Wow, what a title. Okay. Um, I mean, I relate. I try not to love people all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm trying not to love you. You too. I'm trying not to love you. I mean, that's something I say to myself all the time. Hey, you. I'm trying not to love you. Sorry. Okay, let's make this short and sweet. Trying not to love you only makes me love you more. Chad Kroger. Okay. All right. Thank you for putting up with that. I appreciate you putting up with me and my ridiculousness. So that is our show for this week. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this week's MNR Music News Radio. And just remember to be great. If you can't be great, be good. If you can't be good, don't be bad. By all means, don't be bad. And we'll see you next week. And as promised, we're going to leave you with what I think is some really great music. We're going to do Sky Ferreira, and I think I'm going to do Ghost from the title track from her Ghost EP in 2012. And looking forward to Sky Ferreira's release later on this year. So here it is, Sky Ferreira and Ghost, and thank you for tuning into Music News Radio. I'm your host, Mark J. We'll see you next week.
I'm not irrational, I'm just no longer